On that note, let's all get settled in and I will officially call this meeting to order. So introductions, we're going to start off. Miss Yvonne, if you could provide introductions and how to use interpretation. Thank you for the Zoom members. And Yvonne is celebrating Halloween. By the time you get up here, you will realize that.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for being here, especially new face, Mr. Ayub. Thank you, sir. It's an honor to have you here. And thank you as well to Bell Arts for the decorations. They're amazing. It's very laborious work. Takes a lot to put this together. Thank you, Maribel, in the back. Interpreting equipment will be in the back where I'll be located. If any of you need to or would like to listen in Spanish, you can. Cualquier persona que quisiera el equipo de interpretación, por favor, vayan hasta la mesa de atrás. Ahí se lo proporcionaré. O si simplemente quisieran escuchar en español, también está disponible. Gracias. Thank you.
Okay, so next we'll have Vice Chair Francisco Figueroa come up and give his invite to membership. Oh, no, okay. Just kidding. It's going to be our other board member, Orlando Orange. Yeah, thank you.
If anyone's interested in being a member, it's a $30 donation. Excuse me? Suggested. You guys can help us out as board members. You guys have any ideas, we can get going and help this community out. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And to that, I'll add our Westside Community Council board members are very hard working. We go to a lot of city meetings. We stay till the end. We watch every single city council meeting. We bring you the breaking news. We bring you how to do things like report streetlights. You'll see more of that in our standing reports. But we work very hard to make sure that you guys are up to date if you can't or are not able to attend any of the city meetings. And we also work on solving community problems. Like, for example, earlier this year, one of the great successes we had was fundraising money for tenants who were evicted without cause. So we were able to fundraise and help with their moving fees. And if you're around in September for our first annual, hopefully, Westside Fiesta, that was an event for the first time Westside Community Council was held. Everybody had a lot of fun, looked like. The raffle was great. And we invite you all to return next year and help us work on it as a board member, hopefully. So that being said, we'll have our first standing report, and it'll be the Patrol Watch report by Commander Hurd.
Hi, everyone. Oh, it's only right here. Usually the crowd is a little larger. I think everybody has stayed home to eat their candy from last night. Maybe is the case. Well, they didn't know there was cookies here. They're delicious. I've already had one. So they can't put them up on the board. So if you didn't grab them, there's two maps in the back. The first one I'm going to go over is the last 28 days of the narcotics and overdose calls for service. I have been doing this as a special request by one member of the community who's asked for it. So if it becomes irrelevant and you don't want to hear about that anymore, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll kind of keep doing it until you don't want to hear about it anymore. So what this is you'll see that there were 9 narcotics calls for service. That means that someone in the community called us and said that they thought something narcotics related was happening. And then we would either respond out or in this case, there was one call that was canceled prior to our arrival because the people had left. And then we go out and handle that by contacting the people and determining if there's anything we can do about that or not. In this case, there was one canceled, 4 times people were advised, and then 2 times we got there and couldn't locate the subjects involved. The overdose calls for this month, you'll see those on the map as well. There were 6 total overdose calls. And of those, there were no fatal overdoses this month, thankfully, in your community. 3 of those, there were Narcan administered and the people were brought back. So that's good news. And then the other ones were more minor overdoses and reports were taken. So we do, I think you've heard a lot about our fentanyl program. If you haven't watched City Council, the way city council meetings, the way that we're handling and trying to tackle the fentanyl epidemic. We're doing a lot of work towards that. And so we take reports every time there's an overdose, and then that goes to our narcotics unit, and they can forward that information along to a task force that's helping to deal with that. So looks better than it did, I think, the last time I reported on these. And then the second map is the 28-day crime map. Again, it still looks relatively new to me as well, because this is the NIBRS reporting rather than the old way we used to do the reports, which had fewer categories. So it can be a bit confusing, and the map looks a bit confusing, but I will say I took a perusal through all the calls. So I have a print up of what each call was and what was happening. So like you'll see the first line there is there were 18 assault offenses. That sounds really scary. Just looking at that, like, wow, in a month we had 18 people randomly assaulted. Well, that's not the case. I went through, and that includes everything from domestic violence to a simple battery, like someone being pushed or something like that. So the majority of these are domestic violence incidents. So there were a few assaults downtown, bar fights, things like that. And then there's a couple that were a little bit more serious, but nothing too out of the ordinary for your area. A lot of it did revolve around the downtown area. If it was not a domestic violence incident. Everything else looks pretty low. The one thing I will point out is there were 4 motor vehicle thefts. At least one of these was a car that was left unlocked with a spare set of keys in the vehicle. I feel like I'm having to repeat myself a lot on that one. So please remind your neighbors to lock their car doors and also try not to leave spare keys in there. That'll help a lot. That one was actually up in just a residential area, and I think it was a crime of opportunity, maybe someone checking door handles or something that felt like they got lucky. But the other ones, some of those are people that knew the person who took their vehicle. So again, nothing too out of the ordinary with the numbers here. The one other thing that is kind of cool about this map now that it does have the more categories is you're seeing the drug and narcotics offenses on there. You'll see there's 32, which is a whole lot more than the calls that get reported to us. And I went through those, and the majority, about 95% of those 32 narcotics offense calls that are on here were arrests made by our officers, primarily from their proactive activity. So it's great news. They're making a traffic stop and they're finding somebody who maybe is on probation and searching them and finding drugs. And so it's things like that, or someone arrested for, say, a warrant, and then they happen to have drugs on them or something like that. So there were 32 of those, and most of those were arrests for drug-related things. So I think that's good news. That this actually is great that we're showing this and not just the calls for service that we get, but also just what our officers are doing out there, primarily proactively. So are there any questions on either of the maps? No. The only other thing I was going to bring up, because I know it's of interest to many people who live kind of below the range, is that we do have range training coming up November 13th, 14th, and 17th. It is on our public range calendar, which can be found on our website. If you need help finding that, feel free to email me anytime. I can point you to it. We try to put on there when we know we have pre-planned training so that you'll be aware of it. It does involve a night shoot, which is why I'm bringing it up, because it's going to go a little later than normal, but we'll never go past 7 p.m. So you might hear some shooting between the hours. It's supposed to be between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. on those 3 days, the 13th, 14th, and 17th of this month. That's all I have if there's no questions. Yes, sir.
Commander, one of my majors is criminal justice, University of California. You mentioned about drug and narcotic offenses. Is our police department planning or bringing a rehabilitation center for this horrible disease that is affecting adversely our society? Are we locally, through our police department, bringing a rehabilitation center?
A rehabilitation center? That's your question. Is the police department working on that? So the police department doesn't get involved in directly with rehab centers. We connect people with other services that do that. Our county offers those resources. And then there's also a bunch of nonprofits and other outside organizations that offer it. But if there are people seeking those types of services, we can connect them with those resources and get them to the right people that can help them get into those rehabilitations.
And if I may follow it, from the times that Brown, the former governor, brought to legalization of drugs, marijuana, etc. Society has been told that there's a huge amount of windfalls that's coming with legalizing drugs. I've been following it statistically, and most of those businesses are flaky, are failing, or are not even paying their taxes. And so is there any chance that our police department may be able to support a local drug rehabilitation program?
Like I said, it's something that we would support if someone locally wanted to get that going. I don't think it's anything that would necessarily ever fall directly under the police umbrella, but I think we would definitely partner with the city and or county if that's something that they wanted to pursue locally. I mean, there are local rehabilitation centers. I just don't think that we would take that under it would be a huge extra challenge for us to take that on and not really in our scope of services.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sarah.
Yes, one more question?
I'll go right now. I've addressed,
Yeah.
I've called you on this before and thanked for having your officers take care of it or look into it. But I've been noticing more and more that cars are just blowing the crosswalks when people are standing there and the lights are flashing. And so if you can pass the
Remind
word.
people, yeah.
it
So did you
just-
see some good enforcement after that and then it kind of tapered off again, or?
Actually, no, because
No?
I was out of the country.
Well,
right
then
after that, but
That's bad on you, Pete.
well,
I
that
just
was
have to say
that was
no.
one spot, but I've
Yeah.
noticed it all.
Who allowed
along
Pete to
every-
have a vacation? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't ask.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll definitely alert our traffic guys again, and then also the beat one people to kind of keep an eye on it. People do tend to kind of pick up a lot of speed on the avenue. I think you did mention that this lady mentioned that last time too. So I'll make sure to remind them, get them out here if you haven't seen the uptick. Has anyone seen an uptick in enforcement since we had that tip last time? You're supposed to say yes. Yes, we did. No. Okay, I'll make sure we pass that along. Thanks, Pete.
Hi, Commander Hurd, I have a question. It's in regard to the parking. You know, we are very short-handed in this parking. And, but often vehicles, especially working vehicles, are taking up the space for weeks at a time. For instance, in front of my property, my own people cannot park in front of my property. Also, I have to clean it up and I have to pay taxes. And can there be a little bit more emphasis on controlling these vehicles who just taking up space, really a lot of space, and who resist to move their vehicles even for cleaning or tree maintenance? And yeah, I know you can call up. Are they really coming by after another 3 days? And am I correct? You only can park for 72 hours. Is that correct?
You are correct. Yes, in one spot, you can only remain parked for 72 hours. And after that, you can receive a parking ticket. And then if you have a particular vehicle that's a problem, say in front of your house or something, you can call us and you can either call the abandoned vehicle hotline, or you can actually just call in dispatch and let them know what you're facing, what the problem is. And they can either send someone out or advise you, how to proceed further depending on the specific circumstance. But if it's been there longer than 72 hours, we would mark the vehicle and give them a warning and have them move it.
This has been going on for years and it causing hostilities because when I and my people have no room to park, we have to park next door.
Mhm.
Then the next door neighbor gets on my case and I say, I'm sorry, he's sitting there and he has been sitting there. It's been years, for 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago to work and they leave their working vehicles
And is this, you're talking about on the street, the city
on
street?
the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but if they don't move, they can ought to rent some spot in a parking lot or something, but not take up parking in front of houses,
Yeah, I understand. This is a problem citywide, not just on the west side. So it's a challenge everywhere. And believe it or not, whether it's a large vehicle like a motorhome or something for that, or just regular neighbors annoyed that a neighbor's parking in front of their house. If it's a city street, they can park there for 72 hours and then they just have to move a little bit and they can stay there for 72 hours. And unfortunately, we can't enforce anything other than that. But if it is a problem or they're having trash around or anything like that, our officers are happy to go out and contact them and see if there's any enforcement they can take. Because sometimes there's other enforcement we can take depending on the circumstances. So please do call us about it.
So you actually are coming? I wait for 3 days and I call you, then nothing happens after that. Just still sits there.
So we
is
do, we
somebody
do.
really coming by and doing this?
They really are. Yeah. We have, if you call the abandoned vehicle hotline, we send out traffic enforcement cadets that come out to do just citations and tows. And then if there's someone in the vehicle or you're calling directly into dispatch and it's something that can be enforced right now, then we would send officers out. It kind of depends on the circumstance. So you could always call our non-emergency line and get some advice on it. And then they can direct you on how to make that decision.
Thank you.
I knew Carmen Ramirez, and I know she was killed. She was a political murder victim. And as far as now, nothing has been done. City Council Liz Campos was almost run over by a car. Please note the same pattern being used for political targets. Is there any chance that our police department and our city manager may enact an ordinance to at least enforce the state law that forbids dark polarized windows in cars? Because most drivers that use that, you cannot identify them. They just come and go, and if it's a near miss, you never get to see them again. You can never report who almost hit you. Is there any chance that your office for both of you might consider bringing an ordinance in the city so that it is deter this type of unlawful use of polarized windows without permission?
I
Without the
assume you mean
license.
tinted when you say polarized. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
The dark
tinted
one?
windows.
Yeah. So
Car
there's only a
tinted
certain
windows.
level of tint that actually is legal. It already is illegal to have tint on your front 2 windows or your windshield. You can't have any. So it is already illegal and our officers do enforce that. In fact, they pull people over for that and give them tickets already. So I don't see a need for an ordinance in the sense that it's already enforceable.
I have an experience of 2 people that have called and the police didn't enforce it. However, I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt and I'll take your word.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I mean, there could be times that an officer didn't necessarily write a ticket. They may have given a verbal warning or something like that. That could happen, but it is enforceable. They can enforce it. So,
Thank you, Commander.
you're welcome. Anything else? Thank you. Never heard.
Helga, we found the phone number for you. And I can give it to you afterwards. It's also 805-339-4432. And I'll repeat that later and I'll give it to you. Okay, so next up on our agenda, I will be formal introduction of our new city manager, Mr. Bill Ayub, who started with us actually in August, so August 8th. He has a diverse and extensive law enforcement background, a strong commitment to public service, and brings a wealth of experience and leadership to his role. And I can personally say he has been a delight to work with, and I know you guys will love him as well. So, Mr. Ayub, go ahead.
Wow, it sounds like there's a lot of people here. Well, thanks so much, Helen. I appreciate it. She and Marco really are at all the council meetings. I've seen them in the back of the room and they run late. I've been to 5, I think, on the dais and only 1 has ended before midnight. So we're working on ways to try and keep those meetings a little bit shorter. So people have, a little bit of energy the following day. Our staff can work well and our council members are energized and ready to make good decisions for everybody. But it's really exciting to be here working with the city. I'm a lifelong Ventura resident. I was born and raised here. My parents were born and raised here, and my grandparents all immigrated here in the early 1900s. And I just love Ventura. I've been a lot of places, and the more places I go, the better Ventura is. We're not perfect. We've got things to work on. That's part of the excitement of it, just being in a position to make a difference. But we got it pretty good. The weather's great. People are awesome. The city has great bones, and there's good work being done. Some of the big things going on around the city. I went to Buena High School, in case anybody's wondering. I see some inquisitive eyes out there. Things going on around the city. There was a big conversation around land use. The city's updating its general plan, which is its roadmap for the future. And it's a 20-year vision for where the city should go during that period of time. And a big piece of that is how the land is used here. And there was a recommendation to change some of the industrial land here on the west side to a different type of zoning, different type of land use. And that would have made the businesses that are there kind of would have strangled them in some ways. They couldn't expand, and they couldn't grow in any fashion. And so council listened to a lot of members of the public that came out and spoke about that. And they were moved by that. That was the best meeting I've had so far. It was the longest, but it was also real Ventura showing up. And that was democracy in action. The people came, they voiced their opinion, the council listened, and the council changed that recommendation and are leaving that land use as it is. And so while best practices aren't to have industrial uses near residential, here it's been part of Ventura since Ventura was born, and it's going to stay that way for a long time to come. So that's pretty exciting. A lot of other things going on. You might be interested in Main Street moves. That's what they're calling the sealed off portion of Main Street. And if you've been around Ventura for any period of time, you'll know that during COVID, the doctor said, hey, you've got to close all the businesses. People need to stay home, stay away from each other, stand 6 feet apart when talking. I mean, all these different things. And the city at the time recognized that, hey, we've got all these important businesses that provide a service to the community, that give jobs, that are probably going to die if they're not allowed to be open. And so the city allowed them to stay open with outdoor dining. Dining outdoors was permissible under the health closure orders. And so that's something that allowed the businesses to stay open and survive during that period of time. The public loved it. I loved it. I would come down and help support those businesses as often as I could. But now it's turned into really kind of an experience. We've got a lot of outdoor dining at the different restaurants. We've got a good deal of our retail businesses. And you all know retail is changing. You go to the Buenaventura Mall or Pacific View Mall now, it's what it's called, right? I'm aging, I'm showing my age, but the Pacific View Mall, and it's dying. There's not a lot of business there, not a lot of activity going on, but Main Street is thriving. You have retail businesses that are marking a 300% and 400% increase in sales. That's a really good thing. These are businesses that were there before the closure. And so while you have some people who don't like the closure, most do. And the council has given us direction to work on making that, we call it long-term, not permanent, because it's got to be adaptable and flexible depending on what happens in the community. We don't know what the housing situation, what the business situation is going to look like in Ventura in 10, 15, 20 years, maybe even in a shorter period of time. But we know that is something that's sort of a living organism and is going to change and grow and adapt over time. And so that's what we're working on doing now is cementing that closure in place, making it beautiful, because it's ugly right now, right? You got those ugly things with teeth on them that, people sometimes walk into and hurt themselves. And we're going to make it beautiful. We're going to provide an environment that is a unique experience for people. We like it when tourists come to Ventura and leave their money here. That's a good thing. And we like it when our businesses are successful. It gives our residents places to work. It helps support the local economy and keep the lights on at City Hall. And it makes a better city for all of us. So that's a really neat thing. It's a slow process. It's probably going to be a year and a half or so before it really looks like something different and better. Another thing that's kind of a local interest is our pier. Pier's been closed for about a year. It was damaged in the storms last year. It doesn't look like there's any damage, but there is. It's under the water. And a number of the pilings and support bracings have broken. And so the pier is actually moving in the tide. And that's why it's sealed off. We're not allowing people to go out onto it. We've spent some money and put some effort into stabilizing the pier so it's not damaged any further by the tides. But we're waiting for about $1 million to come in from FEMA so that we can actually go out there and fix the pier and it can continue to be an iconic piece of the Ventura landscape for many more years to come, hopefully. So I'd love to take any questions you have. That way I know I'm talking about something at least somebody's interested in. Yeah, yes, sir. KC, right?
Are you considering the possibility of as the conductor of the orchestra, as the head of the city, of supporting and making a reality the $60,000 that the county is willing to match it? If our city can raise that for homeless programs, would you be interested? Would you support it?
So I missed a piece of that. I heard $60,000 and something about supporting a program.
Liz Campos went to the county and she got a commitment that if our city can raise $60,000 for homeless programs, that the county is willing to match those $60,000. Would you be interested in supporting it? Because the rainy season is coming and homeless people and homeless programs are gonna be needy and the resources are not there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been working with Councilmember Campos on that very issue. And yes, I do think there's a pathway forward to have the city partner with the county and add to those resources. So I'm excited about that. I also expect to be a pretty significant announcement about the city's homeless shelter on Knoll Drive. So keep your eyes and ears open for some good news on that in about a month or so.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have two questions.
Okay.
One, can you please settle the pronunciation of your last name?
It's Ayub. You got it perfect. It's like hey you, except Ayub.
Oh, I did get it right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then second, I really want to know. I think you were an amazing sheriff. You're an amazing neighbor. Well, I've been there. Your family is lovely. You're retired. You could have probably lived on that. And I really want to know, I can't imagine it not being a good thing, but why did you apply to be our city manager, to be our top guy? And what is your number one priority?
Well, yeah, thanks for that. I did 37 years in public service and I could retire and I could go travel and golf and do other things, but I enjoy working. First of all, I've worked since I was 11 and never had a break. And when I retired in January from the sheriff's office, I raced around the house and did all the chores that I've been putting off for years, and I got those done. And then I started organizing things that didn't need to be organized, like a lot of retirees do. And then I started bugging my wife, and she says, "Hey, maybe you should find something else to do." No, in all honesty, and that's true. but I love the city. You know, working, you know, I was a sheriff and worked in management, executive management for many years. And you acquire skills and experiences that are kind of unique and carry over to this job. So most of you think of law enforcement, you think, well, he can shoot a gun and drive a car fast, and you know, what else can he do? But it's about managing people and resources and being responsible to the taxpayers and the public, and making good decisions, and being honest and ethical, and a lot of those things are important in city management. I don't know a lot about wastewater, paving streets, planting trees. I know that those things are important, and I know people that know how to do that work well. And I know how to motivate people. I know how to support them. I know how to be responsible with taxpayers' dollars. And I saw a big need here in Ventura. I just felt like we had some gaps there. I think there's great people. I mean, now that I've been there 3 months at City Hall talking with folks, I mean, there's some fantastic people, very talented, and they're thirsty and hungry to be supported and led and given the freedom to do the city's work. And there's a lot of work to be done. And so that excites me. I could easily, you know, be home catching up on Netflix, and instead I do, you know, 14, 16-hour days sometimes, doing the city's business, and I love it.
Well,
So,
I thank you for that.
yeah.
I look forward to seeing what you can do. I often, I'm not speaking as a WCC member, but as a private citizen, I often think, why would he want that job? And I know that you're just probably one of the few people out there, having been here such a long time and having been with the sheriff's department and gained all those fringe benefits that you just spoke about. I just can't wait to see how we all benefit as a city. And I really thank you for taking on this role.
Thank you for that.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Yeah, thanks.
There we go. Hello, hello. Can you hear me now? I'm a bug farmer. We grow the good bugs that eat the bad bugs just outside the city limits on North Ventura Avenue here. And so we've been helping farmers to get off of toxic pesticides since 1950. And it's really important to look at the toxins that the city is using for managing its landscapes and gardens, parks, roadways, hike and bike trails. We live right along the hike and bike trail. And we noticed that they're still using herbicides to manage the weeds there. So we've contributed some ideas along that line, and be interested in continuing that conversation. From my standpoint, it'd be interesting to have a review of what pesticides are used in the city, and that are written into contracts for services. That there's a lot of things that the city is not directly applying, but you know, would be written into contracts that you manage the weeds. Okay, how you doing that? You know, is it with Roundup or you know, a hoe? You know, that there's lots of different options as far as maintaining a healthy environment, you know, without using toxins that have secondary, tertiary effects.
Yeah.
So looking forward to, you know, seeing where we work together on that.
Yeah, great comment, question. I don't have an answer. I can tell you we have a recruitment underway for our Parks and Recreation Director. Our previous director, Nancy O'Connor, retired and has moved out of state. And I have a long list for the new Parks and Recreation Director. So I think there's a lot of gaps there that need to be filled. And so I'm really excited about that. But that's a terrific question, something I'll bring up. We did talk recently about the management of rodents and ground animals at Community Park in Ventura. That's a big park that's used for athletics. And a lot of our parks have, you know, holes and other things that kids running around are going to break their ankles on. So we want to keep the rodents out of there and the ground animals from tearing up the ground and creating an unsafe environment. So how do we do that in a safe way so that there's not collateral damage to the water supply, to other animals that might feed in that area and so forth.
Yeah, there's
So,
a lot of strategies
questions.
such as that for gophers and ground squirrels. Make a slurry of water and sand and run into the holes and fills them up and, excludes habitat for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's ways to do it.
Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Good evening, Amy Fonzo from Air Energy.
Hello.
Welcome. Really glad to have you in this position. Although Air Energy is not in the city limits, we're a big part of this city and community, and just wanted to extend an open invitation to you and your staff, particularly Mac, your OES manager, to come out and take a tour whenever you can. There's a lot to learn about, emergency evacuations and that type of thing. We'd like to share that with you at your convenience.
I'd love to do that. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you.
It's a threefold question. The first one is, would you be interested in supporting the ordinance and making it a reality to ban Roundup because it gets into the soil, the air, the water we drink, and there's no way to control it. And that is one. And the second one is about would you consider, given the limited infrastructure we have that needs major improvements, but we don't have the funds, would you consider somehow to not go with an overgrown city planning in the west side where they want to declare everything commercial, and from commercial to converting it to sky high buildings? It's automatic. It's not forbidden. So commercial zoning is tantamount to approving limitless skyscraper building growth. And the third is, would you support the growth of solar and wind energy that we must transition? And right now we're in a situation that wishfully we're banking and we're waiting that the court will solve the so-called compressor that's making generations of children ill, cancer victims, etc. As a city, as a manager, will you support a fast transition rather than letting SoCal and Sempra perpetuate the discharge, indiscriminated discharge of gases that we're inhaling it? We have it in our bloodstream. Myself, I'm struggling with cancer. I've been living here about 20 years. And I know for a fact that children and adults are also getting cancers. I've been so health-wise conscientious, and you are perhaps one of our last hopes before gas and oil perpetuates and we get doomed because of it. Because cancer doesn't spare whether you're pro-oil or pro-gas or anti-oil or anti-gas, whichever side you are, you fall victim to it, you die. And so you are our last choice, city-wise, locally, to stop the perpetuation and hopefully push for so-called compressor to relocate outside the city limits. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for that. So as a city manager, I am the chief staff member for the city council. The city council makes policy statements and dictates the public policy for the city. I implement those policies and manage the staff and the budget and those types of things. The city has already come out against the expansion of the gas compressor site. So Southern California Gas wants to modernize, and by modernizing, that means expanding the gas compressor site. And so the city is contesting that and pushing back against that. I don't know what's going to happen there. But I can tell you your elected leaders are supportive of your position there. The building is another thing. The state has taken away a lot of local control on building restrictions. Local government used to be very able to dictate what and where and when things are built in the city. And today that's changed quite a bit. It's one of the reasons you see so much building happening. There are spaces in the city that have been undeveloped since I was a child. And now they have, multi-story buildings on them, which, are create a little bit of a different character in Ventura. I wouldn't say it's out of character. The 100-year-old photos of Main Street have multi-story buildings lining it. So the city's character's changed a bit over the years, but there are larger and denser buildings being built, and that's largely out of the city council's hands when those designs are approved and come to life in the city. So the council is very sensitive to the city's concerns related to building height and density and what the buildings look like, and they do what they can to manage that, but there are some parts of that that they have very limited control over. But I will always I'll fight to keep Ventura it's funny, we want Ventura to be like a hidden gem that nobody knows about, but yet we want people to come here and spend their money and enjoy it. So it's like this struggle that we have as a community. So we want people to come, leave their money, and then leave, and we don't want it to change, right? So balancing that is, and then finding revenue streams so that we continue having, well-paid staff, so that we continue to pave our roads and quite honestly, do a better job of paving our roads and maintaining our parks and other infrastructure. Those things are all really important to me, and things that I'll focus on to the extent that I'm able to as the manager and the executor of the council's will. Hope that answers your question. And you asked about Roundup also, and I'll follow up on that.
Sadly, the past administrations, which you have no control, every time we reported the leaks in these past 20 years, they live in denial. They were saying us, no, it's not happening, and the fireman wouldn't come, and nothing would happen. So it perpetuated. But I'm glad that you have that common sense to be wise, to see and look for a positive outcome, a positive solution. And as far as the Roundup, we still haven't had any policy, any ordinance of the city to ban it. And it's very harmful, pesticides, insecticides, you name it. And it goes all the way to the groundwater, and we're drinking it. Even not to be narcissistic in any way, my bloodstream has 3 ppms of lead, and that comes from the compressor. I live very close to the compressor.
Mm-hmm.
And so long after we're gone, what's going to happen to our children? What's going to happen for our grandchildren? I'm sure you have your own family. That is the matter that we must think about it, not just our generation, but our children and grandchildren. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, agree 100%. And back to the question why I wanted to do this job. My children live in Ventura and I want Ventura to be a great place for them to be able to afford to live and to be able to get a job in and for their children and their children's children to enjoy. And so that's why I'm here and doing this job. But thank you for your words.
Thank you. And what's your opinion about the Roundup? To ban Roundup, the chemical? Will you support it? Once you support
And I
it?
think I can do something about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bill, just real quick, Phil, and everybody, I just found a product at Lowe's, weed killer. It's vinegar, soap, water, and salt. That's the 4 ingredients on the label. And I used it and it works better than Roundup.
Oh,
It killed everything.
great.
So just, I found it at Lowe's. So if
And
you're
you
looking
can-
for
you-
something like that, there are alternatives out there.
And you can drink
And
it in an emergency, right?
I
It's,
don't
quite
think I'd
efficient.
want to, but I don't know. Put it on my fish and chip.
Any other questions from the group? I don't see anyone on Zoom going once, going twice. They were very kind to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I've been made aware that there is a hot item on the agenda for the Appointments Recommendation Committee. So that's probably where some folks are tonight. So just in advance of the elections, I will most likely, we'll hear all the candidates and we'll get their kind of like description of what they want to do. And then I'll likely continue and we'll certify the election results during our December meeting, only because I don't want to miss anybody that wants to join the board. And I think everyone would enjoy hearing all the answers. So that's just a heads up. The hot item was, and just because I'm a chismosa, is so the consequences for, it was the whole member Mike Johnson, the admonishment versus, that whole thing is coming back up. So we're going over policy considerations and consequences for the mistreatment of city staff. In there was an item as an optional recommendation to limit public comment from 3 minutes to 2. It's not something, I think, from my limited and dangerous understanding, that staff is recommending council take up, but it is an optional recommendation. Take that how you will. I did send an email to the council members and the clerk earlier saying that I just found out about this, which means that you guys are going to probably just be finding out about this. So it would be nice if we could get a better explicit labeling on the agenda of what's being talked about. And then also I would urge you guys to give public comment. Councilmember Campos is at that meeting and hence why she's not here today. So FYI on that. With that being said, we'll move on to our treasurer's report. We don't have updated numbers because our statement's not out yet, but Kaye will report the balance. And then if we have a hat, we'll pass it around.
Thank you. Well, we have a nice little bit of change.
Let's hear it.
I was really excited when she gave it to me, $3,422.29.
Wow. So
That's in our bank account.
I just want to let everybody know that thanks. That before September 16th, we had $400 in our bank
Yes.
account. So we were a little freaking out, but I mean, we did a comeback. So thank you everybody for donating. A lot of the stuff that the money pays for, I know we usually project it. We have beautiful art tonight instead, but we'll share that with you later. Zoom is a reoccurring expense, insurance, materials. We share a space with WCDC. I've been kind of putting my own money in there to, to reimburse them for all the materials that we print and just general use of the office space. Other things, we have an interpreter who's been graciously donating her services this whole year. Saved us thousands of dollars, quite frankly. And if without that, I don't know if we would be even making it. So that's just a kind of preview of some of the stuff, but yeah, go ahead, Yvonne.
And I also want to mention that at the Westside Fiesta we just had, that was well received. There were many people in here in the audience. I really want to recognize Era. Wherever it is that we disagree and stand on, you still put finances towards this community, and that doesn't go unnoticed.
And CD Lion, I would add.
CD Lion and then 2 members that really went above and beyond in fundraising is one of yours, Orlando back there, who is amazing.
Yeah.
And Maria
Yeah.
Davalos, also second highest fundraisers for the Westside. Yeah, thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Kay. So then next we'll move to our GPAC report. Treasurer, oh, sorry. We skipped the city updates. I know. Okay, Mark was looking at me. Okay, so now we'll move along, sorry, to the city updates. Councilmember Campos, like I said, is not here. Who's on first? All right, perfect. So Alejandra Bilal Kazar.
Hi, everybody. That's a tough act to follow. My name is Alejandra Belalcázar, and I am your communications liaison for the City of Ventura. I have a few things that I'd like to update you on. These are just a couple of the new items for this week. I brought some collateral. It's back there. I brought some press releases, some flyers that have QR codes and key information for the events I'm going to speak about. So I have some really good news. Ventura secured $32 million for an innovative housing project. This is a historic $32 million grant from Project Home Key. This will transform La Quinta Inn site into 134 permanent supportive housing apartments with on-site wraparound services to unhoused and at-risk individuals. The press release is back there. Some more news is coming on that. And moving on to an event that we'll have. It's called Don't Trash It, Smash It. This is a pumpkin smash and compost party. This will be held on Sunday, November 5th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I've also brought some information, and the event info is hyperlinked. I believe folks have that information as well in the agenda. My next item here is for folks that are interested in undergrounding utilities. I want to give Pete a big shout out because he contacted us to extend the survey deadline to allow more folks to give feedback. So this brief survey will allow you to share recommendations, considering factors like accessibility and safety. The survey deadline has been extended to Friday, November 3rd, and the link is also in the agenda. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. My business card is here as well. And then I have a free accessibility forum that will be on Wednesday, November 8th. And I have it here and then the flyer. And for folks at home, this is what it looks like. This is a building and safety division event. We will have 2 separate sessions. This will be about ADA accessibility, and it's a free of charge event for business owners, for design folks, for architects, for anybody that's interested, or any folks that are accessibility advocates that would like to learn more. And then lastly, we have a free housing workshop on November 15th. That's on a Wednesday. This is from our housing services division. This housing forum will be held at the East Side at Juana Maria Elementary School from 6:30 to 8:30. The topics that we'll cover will be affordable housing, tenant rights, paths to home ownership, and houselessness. And you can also RSVP online and pre-submit your questions before the event. This is what the flyer looks like for folks at home. And I also brought some more here. That is it for me. It's quick, easy, breezy. Questions? Short and sweet.
Now that we're back on schedule, now we'll be hearing our GPAC report by Secretary/Public Works Liaison, Mr. P. Freeman.
Oh, thanks. Okay, to start with a quick update on the street light upgrade. That should be happening in January. You're close. But so look forward to that. GPAC, I told you we were going to have a meeting in October, but it was canceled because the land use map or land use map went over, so the staff didn't have time, so that got canceled. I don't know if we're going to have one in November because our normal meeting day would be on Thanksgiving week. So don't know, and I haven't heard anything from that yet. The survey that Alejandra mentioned, and I want to thank her because she helped me out to get that extended a couple days. And it's only a couple days because I believe it's going to be presented to the city council the next week. So if you look in that little packet that we gave you, you'll see like on page 3 or so, there's a picture of a car with a pole, utility pole right in the middle of the sidewalk. And that's what this survey can address. It's for undergrounding utilities, getting rid of the poles on major streets or where it might block or interfere with handicapped people, wheelchairs, baby strollers, anything like that. So that picture there is just an example of what it would eliminate. And then you can find the survey at cityofventura.ca.gov. Go to that website and you'll get that on the next page. You'll get that home page. You scroll down a bit and there's a bunch of banners down there, and you'll see, this isn't too big, but if you're interested in undergrounding utilities, that's the survey. You just click on that. If that banner, if that's not on there, when you pull up all the banners, there's a little arrows on each side, and hit those and it'll keep scrolling and it'll go through a lot of the things that Alejandra just mentioned too. And then when you open the survey, you can take it in multiple languages. If you look at the top on that bottom screenshot, click on that and you can pick your language. And then if you click on the picture on the right-hand bottom side, that will take you to the survey. And I took it, it only takes a couple minutes. One of the streets that I noticed, I know there's a lot because we're an old part of town, but Olive Street is really bad. And that picture that I showed you was from Olive, and that's just one pole. It goes all the way down. So this is only going to be 500 to 1,500 feet because I guess that's all Edison's given us credit for at the moment because of a program they've got. But it's a start. So if we can kind of get on there and take the survey and promote doing it on the west side as opposed to maybe some other part of town, do it. And I was going through some of the old meetings and notes the other day or today, and one of the questions that came up was about street sweeping and how we've got cars parked all along the street, and the street sweeper basically cleans the middle of the street, which he doesn't need to do. So Alejandra helped me again and gave me a contact at the city. So I'm putting a letter together from the Westside Community Council, and we're going to send it to them. And my thought is to have no parking on one side of the street on one day, no parking on the other side of the street on the next day, like they do on Pierpont. So it is done in the city. I'm not looking at anybody in particular. So I'm suggesting that, and if anybody has any other ideas, go ahead and let me know, because I agree. When we do Saturday cleanups, there's just so much trash in the street, in the curbs and the gutters, under car tires. It seems like not the best use of money to have a street sweeper sweep the middle of the street. And
Can I add to what Pete said? So this has actually been brought up in multiple community council meetings. I believe Matt Bello brought it up first a year ago. We had another person, I think 2 meetings ago. Was it Ron? Oh, Helga. Sorry, Helga. We had Helga bring it up. We've had folks speak on it at city council. I know me and Pete, we go to a lot of the community cleanups and we do pick up so much trash, but it is disheartening when you can clearly see there are abandoned vehicles that have been there for a long time and the trash is just, accumulating. So it is frustrating, but I think we are making incremental progress on this. And I really have to hand it to Pete because he's on top of all these types of issues. So I'll hopefully, if we work expeditiously on this letter, we can get it out in time for a council meeting before the end of the year. But please, if you guys can grab me or another board member at the end of this meeting, if you have ideas about the signage, please let us know. And I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I really wish Commander Hurd was still here to hear, because earlier it was brought up in terms of how to prevent people from staying in one spot for too long, right? So this might help with that situation, at least along the avenue, for example. So.
And we do have a question on Zoom. Sorry to interrupt. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Mary.
I'm Mary Birch. I'm the librarian branch manager for the Avenue Library. And this is just going to be a supportive comment. Pete, yeah, you know, the having the street sweeping. Unfortunately, everybody sort of said it before I did, but I've seen cars sit there for like years. And it's difficult at first. It's an adjustment to remember to park. It's going to be hard for anybody who goes to the library, et cetera. But again, I think that's just going to be a really, at the end of the day, a positive way to get the area cleaner and better parking for everybody. So I just wanted to give you some support on that idea.
Thank you. And, you know, to go along with that, we looked up the abandoned car hotline, and I've used it in the past up in my neighborhood, and it does work. It takes a little while because the city has to go out, verify that the car is sitting there, you know, for X amount of days, and then they can start going through the process. But it's worked for me, and I think I've got a couple of cars that look like they've been sitting there for a while in my neighborhood that I'm about to turn in. So give it a shot, even if it's not on your street, if it's somewhere where you know that car's been sitting there. Any other questions?
Oh.
I wonder, what does the west side look underneath the street in regards to plumbing? How are the pipes? Are they ready to burst? Because we added all these other buildings and I never see them update any pipes underneath. So you would know the situation, no?
I don't know. I was I listened to, sorry, I wasn't at the meeting last Monday, but Public Works Director Phil Nelson commented on especially our drainage pipes and the condition of them. And the city is aware that there's some old metal corrugated pipes that need to be replaced. I don't think they're on the west side. I think he said most of them are on the east side. That was the cause. I don't know if you heard about the big sinkhole on Victoria. That was the cause for that. They're aware of it, and it basically, what he said, it comes down to money. And Mr. Ayub, if you'd like to comment or not, okay, I got it right. Thanks. Anything else? Thank you.
Sorry, we have another question or comment on Zoom. Go ahead, Mary.
This is a question, and this is for you, Pete. We'll make this one fast. We do have flooding though on Simpson and the Avenue. It's a storm drain. So I'm just curious if you maybe want to give us a quick comment on I never see them get cleaned out. So I don't know what's going on over there.
Are you talking about the storm drains? Or I know
Yeah.
I've contacted the city about the like the curb and sidewalk drains where they put the bulb outs.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
those grates. I've contacted the city, and actually after Monday night's meeting, I went and tried to find the email and I couldn't find it. So maybe that's another thing I'll probably bring it up to Public Works. And you said Simpson and the Avenue?
Yeah, that one floods almost goes up to the library front door, so it's pretty bad. And thank you, Bud, for doing that.
Okay, it's in my notes.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Am I done?
All right. I don't see anyone else. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so our Westside resources report, not really much of a report tonight. There will be an event tomorrow, or sorry, I believe it is on Saturday, starting from 11 to 1. It's Idea Hub, hosted by the Westside Community Development Corporation. Basically, It's a call to action for problem solvers. So it's pretty free form. You come up with ideas. Example of other ideas that have been done is Taco Week. That was an idea that was born during Idea Hub. There's other, I think there was some inspiration for ADUs coming out of there. So I encourage everyone to join this Saturday. Like I said, Kellogg Park, we'll share the graphic on all of our social media, but it's a good chance to get your idea heard. I'm going to offer myself to the community as a subject matter expert in all things environmental and land use to help smell check ideas. So feel free to use me for free. And I look forward to seeing everyone there. Any questions on that one?
I got an announcement that it was also, that it was also, by Zoom. Or
The Idea Hub?
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be able to work out the tech logistically to get it hybrid, but I would be pleasantly surprised if it is. I would maybe plan on it in person. Yeah, attendance.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. I'm going to run over and check Zoom really quick. Got to get my steps in. Ouchies. So then we'll move it along to new business. I already gave you my fact from earlier. My last announcement. So tomorrow here in this beautiful place, there's going to be a celebration of Dia de los Muertos from 5 to 6:30. They're going to have family art activities. And then the Aztec dancers will come in at 7 p.m. So I believe that will last for about half an hour. And then cumbia afterwards. So we're going to have a good time here at Bell Arts. You can see this beautiful ofrenda that's been assembled behind me. We have some more art around. I attended last year and it was a really, really good time. I encourage everyone to come and have fun with the Westsiders. Any other announcements, new business things that we need to from our board members or membership? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, great. So to that end, we'll move over to our old business. On your agendas, there are a lot of phone numbers for city services. We'll add the abandoned car phone number to this. Let us know if there's anything missing, but pothole hotline, love the pothole hotline, streetlights, SE outages, graffiti, reporting tree limbs, obstruction of sidewalks, etc., replacing your garbage can, illegal dumping, and abandoned shopping cart. We have all those on there for your convenience. So as soon as you leave, you can just get ready to start dialing the city if you see anything. Then we'll move along to our formal item today, which is the special election. So I will announce all of the candidates and we will be taking nominations from the floor if anyone's interested in joining. And then what I'll probably have everyone do is, as I call your name up, there are some introductory items that I'd like you to go over. So one, name, optional, age, occupation, etc., etc. What do you love about the Westside? Why do you want to serve on our board? And then a fun fact about yourself or a goal for your boardship directorship in 2024. And then we will start our informal vote, but we will certify it during our holiday party next month. So first up on the list, I believe we have Phil Fields, otherwise known as Casey. And I can move all of this and just hand you the mic if you want to come up here and introduce yourself. Perfect. And then we'll probably just be passing the mic afterwards. Here you go. Do you need me to repeat any questions for you? Or you have it?
Hi, my name is Philip Casey Fields. Call me for short, Casey. I'm a former university teacher. I taught human anatomy. My alma mater is University of California. Alex Padilla is my classmate, the United States Senator. Newsom, he comes from the same alma mater as I am. Anyway, going to the point, each one of us have a lot to give. I'm here to give with a grain of salt what we need to give, each one of us. Estoy aquí porque la mayoría somos en el estado de California los que hablamos español. Entonces es hora de actuar. No seas invisible, hazte cargo del directorio. I have lived 20 years en Ventura. Quiero estar en el directorio porque uno de mis planes es seguir comprando energía de los que venden. Socal, Sempra, muy bien, vamos a comprarles energía. Lo único que estamos pidiendo es que ustedes nos vendan energía limpia, solar, energía de viento. Entonces, hagamos negocio, pero respetando la salud de ustedes, de nosotros, de todos. We need to transition to new energy, and that is my goal, to keep working at this. And another goal is to make the West Side pool a reality. There are $5 million sitting in a bank account, and nobody is told us as far as now, where is that money? What happened to the interest? What is happening in the city with those $5 million? We need to know the account number. Please tell us. Mr. City Manager, I'm very honored with your distinguished presence, and I hope you can locate that account of the $5 million account. I appreciate your help, sir. You're the head, and we trust you. Estoy compitiendo para el cargo de chair, encargado del directorio, y espero que me apoyen. Soy doctorado en ciencias sociales, ciencias políticas, y he estado en campañas con el profesor Nelson. Soy un veterano de todo esto, pero yo solo no puedo hacerlo. Necesito el apoyo de ustedes. Voy a hacer mi cargo del directorio solamente si ustedes me apoyan. Si no me apoyan unánimemente, no vamos a poder realizar y lograr traer cambios a nuestra ciudad pacíficamente, by the rule of law, respecting our Constitution. I'm here to ask all of us to work together, and I do trust in your judgment. I trust in your voice. I trust in your vote. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then next up, we'll have an incumbent board member, Kaye Zerbes, and then next on deck, another incumbent, Miss Maria Davalos.
Well, I've had the pleasure of doing this here. This is my 6th year. So if you want my job, you may have it. But I'm not giving it up that easy. I have been enjoying it. I am the senior right now on this board. I'm going to be 82. And I can turn it around. I'm only going to be 28, so watch out. But I do enjoy putting it in the bank and watching over it and keeping tabs of everybody. Besides, this building here means a lot to me. My husband used to work in here. His picture's on the back wall. So I've been here since 1957. Ventura Avenue has been the longest place I've ever been in my whole life. Yeah, that's what I said too when I realized it. Thank you. And everybody, please get on our board. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Miss Maria Davalos. And then after Maria, we'll have Miss Yvonne Quintanilla and then followed by Marco Cuevas. Please feel free, put your arm up if you want to nominate yourself or another person from the board. They do have to be here or online. I will say that.
Okay. Buenas noches, soy María Dávalos y soy residente de Ventura por 35 años. Estoy muy contenta de servir a la comunidad.
Good evening. My name is Maria Dávalos. I have been serving this community for over 35.
Residente de 35
Resident of
años.
Ventura for over 35 years, and I am very happy to serve this community.
Y me gusta estar en la mesa directiva porque me gusta trabajar con la comunidad latina. Y ahora que estamos sirviendo para la comunidad, estamos muy contentos de que nuestra gente latina se esté enterando de todos los proyectos de la ciudad de Ventura.
I'm really happy to be on this board with the WCC, especially serving our Latino community here on the West End, the West Side. I especially enjoy that more information is being disseminated to this population.
Todos los servicios que tiene la ciudad de Ventura para nuestra comunidad y estoy muy contenta de tener un grupo manejando de Manos Unidas, que también somos como 200 personas que estamos ahorita aquí, solo de la comunidad y son latinos. Y ellos cuando necesitan ayuda de nosotros, siempre estamos apoyándolos, ayudándolos, y es una manera de cómo podemos servir a nuestra gente latina en esta área.
In addition to serving this population and on this board, I'm involved with a group in Spanish. It's called Manos Unidas. In English, it's United Hands. It's roughly a group of 200 people of both genders here on the avenue, very active in the community, and they are some of the folks that are definitely benefiting from myself being on this board.
Sí, y gracias a usted, señor, por participar en la mesa directiva. Trae muchas buenas ideas y creo que vamos a trabajar juntos para poder lograr lo que realmente necesitamos como latinos. Y gracias al City Manager que nos está apoyando porque él está aquí con nosotros porque es algo que nos está representando y que se está preocupando por nuestra comunidad.
And thank you as well to the last speaker and his ideas. It's definitely something that we need here on the West End to unify us. Thank you as well for the city manager for modeling, being here, and showing us by participating on the West End that we matter.
Por preocuparse por nuestra comunidad.
And especially for being concerned about our community.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Up next is Yvonne and then followed by Marco, who will be then followed by our another incumbent, Francisco Figueroa.
Okay. I'm just happy to continue being the interpreter and translator. I have spent a lifetime, both vocationally and professionally as such. I've shared with many of you how much the pandemic has affected me personally, actually and professionally. My life has somewhat been turned upside down, and close to 3 years now, I'm getting my bearings back. But prior to the pandemic, I actually spent 2 years in the linguistics department preparing for my state licensure that carries the weight of my interpretations and translations being up to a legal standard. I plan now on picking that up and credentialing hopefully by March of this coming year. I actually am extremely passionate about the information being available to everyone in whatever language. You know, we need to get it out. And as a interpreter and translator in Spanish and English. Don't think that's the only two languages that I'm able to communicate with people. There's also, I say another French skill that we get as interpreters and translators is that we are very good at communicating non-verbally, which is kind of a skill that you need, as oftentimes being the person who needs to interpret, say, from a PhD speaking down to the equivalent, so that somebody with a primary education can also understand the same thing. I am challenged by it, but I am passionate about it. And I hope to continue being the interpreter and translator for the Westside at no cost. I refuse to get paid for it. Thank you.
She does refuse payment. I've tried to pay her. Okay, so I think the rest of this list is incumbents. So Marco, Francisco, then Helen. Oh, that's me. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't even know how I follow up some of these incumbents that have been here longer than I. This is my first year on the board. I'd love to continue. My name is Marco, by the way. Age 25. I've lived here my whole life on the west side. Kaye, even though I calling out one of her comments, and she said she was 82, but she could take on any 20-something-year-old. I'd buy that. I'd buy. My occupation, I currently work in the mortgage industry, buying and selling mortgages. A little hard to explain. People never understand when I explain it, but that's that. My education, I went to Cal State Channel Islands. I double majored in business and economics, graduated in 2020. What do you love about the West Side? You know, there's just so many things. I feel like oftentimes you just go in the same cliches that everyone says, but to be honest, that's what makes us a community. The community of the West Side, and being surrounded by my fellow board members, those who aren't on the board, anyone in this community, in this city. Honestly, I feel like I said the same thing last year, but it feels like family at times, especially when we're planning things like the West Side Fiesta, just like any other party that you would have for your family. It really does feel like that. Also, the food. I mean, we have the best food like in town. I mean, the taco district is what we're dubbed. I mean, need I say more? Why do I want to serve on the board? You know, people often, like, I can talk with people just about things that are going on in the city. You know, a lot of you guys come and voice your concerns. That's civic engagement right there. It's one thing to talk and share your concerns just within your inner circles and complain about things and stuff like that, but actually serving and trying to make a difference, and actually the action of doing things, I think is why I want to serve, instead of just being someone that just, you know, sits in a corner and is like, oh, nothing's getting done. Okay, we'll do something about it. As Pete says, be my guest, get something done. So, you know, that's one reason I feel like I can also have a perspective, like so many of our board members that have been on the West Side for so long. Just sharing my perspectives is another thing. A goal for my directorship for next year. I mean, this year, obviously, we had upgrades in our communications in terms of the camera and the sound equipment. I'm really gracious for the donation that we had there that was able to supply that donation, and so many other donations that we have, just, as Helen mentioned, a list of all the things that we need to just stay functional and operational throughout the year. But next year, just continue, you know, fundraising so that we can do more things for the community, because we have goals, but obviously get a little pricey, and hopefully bring in some more members that can help us out with that. So that's about it.
And then next up, we have Francisco, followed by me, followed by Orlando.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Francisco Figueroa. I'm resident in the West Side for more than 35 years. And I like it serving to my community. This community is very multicultural. That's make it unique in all Ventura County, Ventura. But I like living in this area, the West Side. The Ventura Avenue is very, I don't know, it's beautiful, this area. We're talking about the food. We're talking about the people. We can talking about a lot of things. Make it very precious area, and I like it working. Like Marco says, all on the board. We are like a family. We try to serve it to our community, and that's why we invited to everyone to bring ideas, opinion, and involve in all this area. We try to make a better place for us and for our children. Mi nombre es Francisco Figueroa y estamos, estoy feliz de servir a mi comunidad en esta área que es única y es, preciosa por las diferentes culturas que tenemos. Eso hace nuestra comunidad sea tan especial y quiero servir a mi comunidad para tratar de hacerlo mejor en esta área en la que vivimos y sobre todo invitar a todos los residentes para que se envuelvan y traigan ideas, opiniones y podamos hacer algo diferente y bueno para, especialmente en el área de la Ventura Avenue y podamos tener un lugar especial para nosotros y para nuestros niños. Gracias.
And then I will go next, and then following me, it's gonna be Orlando and then Pete. I think I said that. Thank you. Okay, so hey everyone, I'm Helen Loyan. I'm the current chair. What do I love about the West Side? I love the West Side because it's the only place I've ever lived that I felt part of the community. My parents immigrated here, fled the Soviet Union. I lived in LA in a very small apartment with a bunch of family members, way exceeding the occupancy. We moved around a lot. This is the first place I moved after I graduated college, and I got my first professional job here. I mean, you guys know I live. The way I ended up on the West Side is actually a very sad story, but I think it has a beautiful outcome because I found a community that supports me, one that I can give back to. And I think, I think it's beautiful. And I look forward to continuing to serve the West Side. That kind of answered the third question. So a goal, if I were to stay on the board, basically this last year, I'm going to be candid. There were not sustainable standard operating practices and other like key organizational documents and guiding kind of resources available for me. This is actually the first time I've ever been chair of a nonprofit. Might have fooled some of you, but I was figuring it out as we went. And it's been difficult to get a consensus with different personalities. The great part about that is that we're not all thinking the same thing. We all have different opinions and different things to offer. So that part I absolutely loved. Completing 40-page tax forms, not the best. So I guess my goal would be to bring the WCC back up to good standing with the state of California, because the Franchise Tax Board is the last issue I have yet to resolve. All of our other paperwork is good to go, with the IRS more so specifically. But following that rectification, I am going to develop that kind of guiding manual so that when the next chair comes in or someone else who also doesn't have any experience and wants to lead their community for the first time, they basically have a how-to guide. And how to run a meeting, how to file your state paperwork every year, how to conduct an election. So those are my goals, a little bit boring, but I think very needed. So on that note, we'll have Orlando come and then Pete will close it up unless there's any other nominations from the floor. Okay, thank you.
Hey, good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name's Orlando Arantia. Excuse me. Happily married 18 years. I have 3 beautiful children. I work in this side of town. I just recently moved to the other side of town, but I've been here for a little 15 years prior to that. But I have a lot of friends here in this community. I like helping this community out. we had a good event on Taco Week, so next year is going to be even better. I love working with the fellow board members, and we all get along well, have good ideas, and I'm planning on continuing working with them. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. In case you don't know me, Pete Freeman, longtime resident of the city, lived on from Wells Road on the east all the way up over here on the west side. So I've been all over, grew up in Ventura. Sorry, Bill, I went to Ventura. But so I forgot the questions. I left them over there. Oh, the west side. What I love on the west side. Well, one thing is the diversity that's over here. I think this, having lived all over town, I think this is probably the most community part of any part of the city. You know, live in the suburbs on the east, and it's, you go home and that's kind of it. But there's no real sense of community, and that's what we have on the west side. I want to serve on the board. I longtime member of the WCC. Just spent my first year on the board. I really enjoyed it. Great working with all the other board members, and it really feels good when you are able to do something for the community and you're appreciated for it. But that's not why I do it. But it's nice to get that. And fun fact about myself, or goal for director, our goal is, and I will just still continue to work with the city, continue to bother Alejandra and get names and communications, and see what we can do to improve elements on the west side. Thanks.
So returning back to comments earlier. So today we'll do a preliminary kind of vote endorsing the candidate slate. We do have, Pete, what's the total on my sheet of paper? Is it 10 board members on there? Okay. 9. Okay, so 9's a good number. I believe we started with 11. I think we're at 10 right now, but 9 is, we're missing a person, aren't we? Trevor. Huh. Okay, well, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna continue it. So today, members who are in attendance, say aye if you agree to the slate. Thank you. And then we will certify the results during our holiday party, which will be December 6th. Please bring your ugly sweaters. We want to see them. It'll also be a potluck, so feel free to bring a dish. We look forward to seeing everybody then. Hit the gavel, Pete. We're adjourned. Thank you.